Hello, this is Rick from MathX, and today we'll be solving number 20 from the 2018 Noetic for 5th grade. Now, this problem is kind of a disappointment because even though it's a number 20, there's not really that much unique thought that went into this problem. I mean, sure, the problem has a lot of words and it's a little bit tricky, but it's just a generic word problem. And if you get good at these kinds of word problems, these kinds of problems should not give you any issue. So that's why I'm going to be showing you today how this kind of word problem is just really simple by keeping one thing in mind. So let's just start the problem. Axel and Dash are brothers and they go to the same school. Today, they left their home at the same time and walked to school. Axel walked to school at a speed of 315 feet per minute, and Dash walked to school at a speed of 420 feet per minute. Dash arrived 2 minutes before Axel. What is the distance in feet between their home and school? So, whenever doing any problem which asks you about distance, rates, and times, remember this one equation. Distance equals rate times time. And with this one equation, you should be able to solve this whole problem. So, in this equation, since it gives us a relationship between the times that Axel and Dash reached their school, I'm going to try to express everything in terms of time. Now, the first thing is to set up a variable. The most logical variable in this case would be the distance as d, because anyways, that's what we're trying to find out. As soon as we find out the value of our variable, we're going to solve the problem. So the first move would be to label our distance as d. Now in order to find the time, since distance equals rate times time, we can find time by dividing rate from distance. So we can find the time Axel got to school by dividing d by 315. Now it tells us that Dash arrived 2 minutes before Axel. So that means Axel reached there 2 minutes after Dash. Meaning that however many minutes it took Axel to get to school, it took Dash 2 less. So we could do D minus 315 minus 2. And then we can find out the time Dash took to get to school. We do the same thing. Since they both walk the same distance because they're going to the same school, we can express the distance as d, same variable. But since Dash goes at a slightly faster rate, 420 feet per minute, we would divide it by 420 instead. Now, at this point in the problem, we just have to solve for d. So the first step would be getting the d's to the same side. We get d over 315 minus d over 420 is equal to 2. Now we have to get them over a common denominator. So we multiply the numerator of this fraction by 420 and the denominator by 420, getting 420d over 315 times 420. And then we would do the same thing to the other fraction. We multiply the numerator by 315, the denominator by 315. That way we would get the same denominator of 315 times 420. And then we'd have our numerator in terms of 420d minus 315d, because there's a minus here and we multiplied 315 by d. So then we get that's also still equal to 2 because we just brought that 2 down. The next step would be to simplify the numerator. So 420 minus 315 would give us 105d over 315 times 420. Now, these are really big numbers, so we should try to avoid as much computation as we can because that would just make the problem a lot harder for us. So computing 315 times 420 is a hideous computation. But we can see that 105 is a factor of 315. So we can cancel out 105 from the numerator and cancel out 315 from the denominator and instead express it as 1 over 3 because 105 times 3 would give us 315. So we get d times 3 times 420 equals to 2. Now, this is a much better computation than 315 times 420. So now we get that d over 1260 is equal to 2, because 3 times 420 is 1260, and we get that's equal to 2. We multiply 1260 by both sides, we get d is equal to 2520. Now, d was our question. D was what we need to find. We need to find the distance. And our units are right too, because to find this, we took the rate as feet, meaning that our distance is also in feet. So we've just completely solved the problem. The distance between their home and school is 2,520 feet. Now, this problem wasn't that hard. In fact, if you just know the simple formula, distance equals rate times time, and use some clever algebra, you could solve this nearly instantaneously. So even though this is the number 20 on the test, this is probably a really easy problem for those people who know how to set up equations from word problems like this. So I've said this before, but a really useful skill to do on Noetic and Moems and Math Kangaroo and all these lower level tests is to just get really good with word problems and writing equations from those. And just by doing this simple skill, you could probably solve like 70% of the problems. So if there's anything you should invest your time and efforts to do well on these tests are, is it is to get really good at writing equations and solving word problems.